I don't know if you were aware of this by now, but I saw that post from Angel Reese, or what I assumed was Angel Reese, or whatever I was told was Angel Reese about the white girl who didn't want any of the fade or something like that. I assumed it had to be an error, so when someone asked me about it, I replied that surely to God she wouldn't have reposted it, and even Angel Reese knows better than to do so. So welcome to the only place where we analyze what's going on in the world of sports without any filters of scripts, and I'm not sorry. Now that I'm really starting to look into this, I'm thinking, God, not only is this real, but you have media members who actually do try to hold the WNBA to some kind of responsibility they're talking about. There's no room for hate this and that and the other one. This is not the place for manufactured narratives or corporate sanitized commentary. Instead, we call things as they are, even when they're uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. Today, we're going to delve into what may be the most significant controversy the WNBA has ever encountered. It's not just about basketball, it's also about culture, race, integrity, and what happens when a league that places a strong emphasis on equity and justice is unable or unwilling to enforce its own standards. And you have a player who is openly calling for violence against your most popular player by far. Let's examine this. Rising stars Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark are behind a league that is on the verge of becoming a parody of itself. However, this was released right here. I thought it was a fake at first, but I guess it's not. It's a crazy white girl fleeing from the fade, and Angel Reese is right there. Of course, Caitlin Clark is acting responsibly so as not to ruin her public relations like Angel Reese leaving after the foul the other night or the other day against the Chicago Sky, huh? It all began with a single TikTok social media post that went viral with the caption, "White girl running from the fade." The video shows a scene from a WNBA game between the Chicago Sky and the Indiana Fever. After taking a harsh foul, Caitlin Clark, possibly the most well-liked player in women's sports right now, opted to walk away and disengage in order to preserve her reputation and prevent a fight. I remarked it must be a fake after receiving that from someone once again. Nope, there's a video on TikTok right here, I said, and that image appears in this video. If I have the capacity to do so, I will simply decline it because I do not want a copyright strike. However, the image is there, and Angel Reese really shared it on TikTok, so I'm like, are you serious? Are you serious? The WNBA is targeting and lecturing Indiana Fever fans as part of this investigation. Are you implying that Angel Reese won't be suspended or fined for this, or are they too weak to speak out against such things, even when they are directed at a white woman? In any rational world, that would be regarded as admirable, the kind of level-headedness you'd want from a leader, but someone seized the chance to sow discord and reframe the incident, turning it into a meme and adding a caption that said Clark was a coward who was physically fleeing from a violent conflict at that same moment. Angel Reese laments racism that never occurred before reposting overtly racist content. It goes a step further here because my boy over at TikToks is the reason the WNBA is a farce and not only permits but also promotes bigotry against white people. Outkick right here, Bobby Burek, a very good journalist, contacted the WNBA to ask if they had any response to Angel Reese's racist TikTok post about Caitlin Clark. The league did not respond, nor would it address Reese's suggestion that she wants to fight Caitlin Clark because, quote, there is zero tolerance for hate. The WNBA is currently running an advertisement about, I believe, the physicality of the league. And at some point, we simply must ask, is this what Kathy Engelbert and the WNBA wanted? I mean, I know it's good for ratings, and perhaps the commissioner is smirking behind her back or something, but you're still going after the fans who are giving the Indiana Fever their money. And even though Angel Reese, one of the league's biggest names with millions of followers and a huge public platform, reposted it, she didn't. To fully grasp the significance of this moment, you must comprehend who these players are. She qualified it rather than denied it, emphasized it, and that's when everything changed. Caitlin Clark is a superstar, not just another rookie. A cultural lightning rod and a ratings powerhouse. In a league that previously frequently had trouble selling out 30,000-seat gyms, she filled arenas across the nation and attracted more viewers to the women's NCAA championship than the men's final. For the first time in history, funds, attention, and unparalleled visibility. When Angel Reese reposts a racially charged video mocking Caitlin Clark, the symbolism doesn't just exist in the moment, it reverberates throughout the culture. Angel Reese is also a powerhouse. She became well known during LSU's championship run and has built a strong fan base by owning her image and voice. She is confident and polarizing, marketable, and represents a wave of young black athletes reclaiming the narrative and refusing to be boxed into anyone's mold of acceptable behavior. Even though they may not be aware of it, the WNBA is making a statement by choosing to do nothing about it. They are the ones who are grabbing the ratings and purchasing the tickets, even while traveling. And I have to wonder if there will be more empty seats at Caitlin Clark games because, based on my observations, many Fever fans are already feeling a little fed up, okay? So they're already a little tired. And you could hear from the audience, they said that. I suppose Kathy Engelbert came over and gave a lecture to the crowd before the game the other day. How about Keith? Does she have any thoughts? If the WNBA wants to be taken seriously, we should have openness on these kinds of matters. Let's dissect this. The WNBA has long marketed itself as the League of Values, a league that values inclusivity and accountability. When fans shout something deemed inappropriate, whether it's truly offensive or just inconvenient, the league launches an investigation. When critics question the narrative, they are labeled as bigots or misogynists. However, when a player with significant influence reposts something inflammatory, blatantly targeting another player and bringing race into the equation, the WNBA acts as though it didn't. These campaigns about respect, unity, and togetherness highlight their diversity as a point of pride. Occur without a statement, disciplinary action, or even a public warning. That is cowardice masquerading as advancement, not leadership. There are other things going on, such as this being shared by Angel Reese. But the WNBA is officially dealing with their Jussie Smollett Bubble Wallace hoax situation right now. Do they not realize that if you want to be considered a number one, if you want to, look, sports fans will go after Brittany Griner for her arrest in Russia, and they will heckle her over it. I heard that yesterday and thought, are you kidding me? If you want to keep all these new fans around and be treated like a real sports league, you need to start taking things like this seriously and stop worrying about going after people because they made a joke about it. The truth is that Brittany Griner was arrested. You expect Russian sports fans to not really jeer at her during a game because cannabis oil is illegal in Russia? Have you ever attended an Eagles or Raiders game? You must be kidding me. Let's flip this scenario. The caption on a video posted by Caitlin Clark read, "Black girl can't handle the smoke. You are aware that there would be widespread indignation, incessant protest calls for suspension, and brand deals get dragged. It would be covered by ESPN for a week. When the answer is reversed, it is uncomfortable and unacceptable. But some people pretend it is because they are afraid to challenge the double standard and fear being labeled racist even when they are calling out actual racism." Activists would swarm social media, and rightfully so, because that would be offensive, inflammatory, and deeply inappropriate. To be absolutely clear, racism is racism, and it is not excused by the history of oppression. Annoyance. No matter the situation, attacking someone based solely on their race is not empowerment, and the WNBA must stop treating morality like a buffet where you can only choose what suits your agenda if it hopes to be respected as a professional league. Now let's talk about the people who are currently keeping the fans informed. Among the most devoted and active WNBA supporters are those of the Indiana Fever. They travel, show up, and chant that they care. What do they receive in return? Disrespect, condescending, and warnings. According to reports, Commissioner Kathy Engelbert lectured the Fever supporters prior to a recent game about their conduct and tone rather than encouraging them to cheer more or express love, during a probe that was prompted by what now seems to be a wholly baseless accusation of racism. Meanwhile, Angel Reese posts offensive material on race and is not held responsible. You only need basic sense to realize why this is an issue, and you don't need a degree in public relations or marketing to comprehend what occurs when supporters begin to feel humiliated by the league they support. The ridiculousness of the situation is best expressed by a joke, and if this keeps on, you'll see empty seats once more, even at Caitlin Clark games. Yes, it's a joke. Recently, a satirical page published a phony headline. WNBA to ban booing was a joke and a parody, but the thing is that thousands of people thought it was real because it sounded like something the WNBA would actually do. Someone posted a spoof post about the WNBA banning booing everywhere on NBA Central, a parody and satire website. At first glance, I was like, wow, I can't believe it took them this long. But then I noticed that the person who posted said, okay, good, which just goes to show how many people believed it to be true, because at this point, we're expecting the WNBA to actually do something ridiculous like ban booing in a sports league. Satire has turned into prophecy, and the distinction between reality and absurdity has completely vanished when people assume if your league forbids booing, which is actually a part of the sports experience, you're no longer seen as a professional operation. Instead, you're a circus act, a punchline and a performance without a script. If fans begin to laugh at you rather than with you, you're in big trouble. Let's take a break from the court for a bit and discuss business. Sponsors don't spend money on chaos. Broadcasters don't spend a lot of money on stuff that is tired of controversy. Partners don't want to be involved in unforeseen PR disasters. And when the league shows that it is unable to consistently police its own code of conduct, it sends a strong message to those in charge of making financial decisions. You can't rely on us. All of the companies that partnered with the WNBA because of its principles are now keeping a close eye on it. And every instance of hypocrisy or cowardice erodes that foundation. If the WNBA loses the trust of its corporate partners, no amount of TikTok virality will be able to save it. At what point will Adam Silver intervene? Remember that the WNBA is governed by the NBA's canopy. Since NBA teams own a portion of these teams, their success or failure has an impact on the sport as a whole. If this trend keeps up, the issue is not limited to the WNBA. It also affects basketball and brands. Adam Silver must ask himself a serious question. Does he want to be known as the commissioner who brought the game to a wider audience, or as the one who watched as the women's league collapsed from within? Caitlin Clark introduced the WNBA to millions of new fans who had never played before. Whether NBA is at a historic crossroads, one path leads to growth, integrity, accountability, and respect. The other leads to division, hypocrisy, declining fan trust, and eventual irrelevance. If Silver is concerned about long-term sustainability, now is the time to act, not next season or after the playoffs. Those same fans have never watched a women's game in their lives, and now they are watching in disbelief as the league mishandles one crisis after another. However, the harsh reality is that you can't have it both ways. You can't say that there is no tolerance for hate and then allow it when it suits your story. You can't reprimand supporters and then defend players. You can't portray yourself as a league of values and then remain silent when those values are broken. You're either a legitimate league or a political theater. Maybe you're not real, so what's going on, WB?